I'm going to be talking about sexy code and algorithmic art, an instance of how art and engineering work together. I have some extra time, so I'm just going to wait here. Wasn't expecting the 15 seconds to take for the slide, for the title. Okay, my background is, I've got a bachelor's in computer science. I'm in my second year in HCI. I've worked 4 years as a software engineer. I got a minor in art. And I've taken a little bit of psychology, so not enough to get a degree, but enough to be dangerous. So let's talk about what is sexy code. Sexy code is the code that you look at and say, ooh, ah, that is interesting. And that's a very subjective interpretation of actual code. Okay, so that's fast, it's lightweight, it's not elegant per se. It's a little dangerous, it's a little bit on the hacking side. But as a fundamental system knowledge, it doesn't have to look good, okay? So, people that actually accustomed to design patterns, they think, okay, those design patterns, is that sexy code? Well, let's think about it. It might be possible. Okay, so design patterns? No. Well, okay, maybe. Okay, we get a look at singleton, we got the visitor, the template. Okay, yeah, those are sexy because they're efficient, they're lightweight. Factories are not because they're extra code, even though they have extra usability or reuse. Okay, so that's all right. But mostly what they use the language scope and procedural caveats to expand the functionality. Okay. This slide, the timing's off. So, okay, what about sexy? What about the actual, what does that mean? What does it mean to be sexy? Well, okay, it's a subjective interpretation of our personal feelings toward a desired mating partner. Okay, that's right. Everybody knows what they want, and they know intuitively. Okay, we're going to come back to the idea of intuition a little bit later on. Okay, but when you think about it, let's think about what exactly intuition is. Now, algorithmic art, okay, all that is actually a visual description of algorithms, okay? Here's some couple examples. Nature, that's found everywhere, okay? So when you look at actual algorithms, they're represented usually in an infinite dimensional space, where if you look at visual, it's 2D, 3D, or 4D, okay? So there's that transition there, and we're talking about, they still require the fundamental knowledge of design patterns, right? Okay, it's just a different canvas. And it still has that same intuition on the basic visual structure of organizations. Because if you look at it, you see algorithms do have that structured organization that, once you understand them, are actually very interesting to look at. So what's the connection? Okay, both are lightweight, both are clarifying, okay? They exhibit fundamental knowledge of the underlying system and interface. Okay? They both deal with algorithms. They're just different domains. One's logic, one's actual the visual. So, what does that mean? We will see. They're the two sides of the same coin. If you look at the implementation, sexy code, subject to the algorithm. It's got works with the hardware and software. It's in logic space, algorithm art. It's the same algorithm. It's just working on the visual perceptions, and it's in the visual space. So they're really the same thing. They're just different interpretations of that. Okay. So let's think about, okay, well, algorithmic art, is that more elegant or sexy? Okay, well, if it's art and it's appreciated art, that's usually something that's innovative and new, and so that can be interesting. But really, algorithmic art is more elegant than sexy. And so if you've been following along and you understand that difference, then we're good. We can actually move to the next part. Because now when we're talking about the different disciplines that actually underlie those two, that's really the important part, because sexy code and algorithmic art are really just two different things explaining what actually is underlying art and design versus engineering. And at conferences, people argue about what's the difference between art and engineering. Well, they're essentially the same thing. They're just different definitions. So let's create some new different definitions. I like design. It's an abstract idea of general creation. Software design, graphic design, essentially are the same actually worded definitions, okay? But design is not art. And engineering and art are really just two specific creation processes applicable to the domain, and they really have the same underlying themes, and they both include design. As you saw, I use Wikipedia. So art is, could it just be the simple engineering of the cognitive interface? All right, is it really just a programming of, to the visuals that people perceive? Yeah, it could be, but I don't think so. It's the application of intuition. I mean, once you consider it that way, and you think about the different definitions of art, then you actually see that all of them kind of revolve around that idea of just general intuition. So let's think about this again. What is intuition? Okay, it's the apparent ability to acquire knowledge without inference or reason. Okay, if you think about it, it's almost the exact opposite of art. Okay, concepts at a higher level of processing, more likely connections are made. You actually start describing them different. You're using different domains. Again, we get back to it. Sexy art. Okay, this is a visual description. It's now applied to logic. Okay, so can expertise actually create intuition? Yeah, but the research is a little bit out there. People can actually show that intuition is caused by experience, but they're not necessarily a one-to-one relationship. So yes, the more experience you get, the more intuition you have on the subject, but again, you can get intuition from other places. So let's move on. What is engineering? From a high level? Okay. It's applying the logical knowledge of design implemented in material structures, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so pretty much engineering is the application of logic. All right, this is actually the opposite of art. When you think about, and this is kind of where the psychology part of it is, eventually, but you look at engineering and art are actually two dual mode processes. Okay, so on both sides of it, you look at art, you look at okay, this is from my experiences, this is from my intuition. This is more of the lower level of processes of the brain. Whereas logic, you have to systematically follow different things. And that's what engineering is, okay? It applies the mathematics, applies the physics, it applies the chemistry, where you actually need the induction and deduction, okay? So how does this work with human-computer interaction? You got to understand both systems. We deal in a very complex domain, okay? It's very disciplinary, it's got multiple facets, and they're all talking the same thing, just from different angles. So everyone has different ratios on each system. You have to understand, okay, when are they applying logic to this problem, and when are they applying the intuition that they've learned throughout time. So in conclusion, sexy code and algorithmic art, they're both art forms of the same subject. They're just applied to different canvases of the human-computer interaction system. HI development, it's engineering, it's the logical application. Art is the intuitive application of it, both on the human-computer interface. So, sexy code algorithmic art is just an instance of this underlying connection between art and engineering. Okay? And that is my speech.